either you're going to get along with that person or you're not, you know? So that's the way that I've always seen it. And of course, it's, of course, personal taste. And personal taste can go in different ways, such as you may like the artwork, or you may like the system that's being used for it, or you may like or be a fan of the illustrator and or author, which makes you pick up that, you know, that product. So it all has to do with personal taste. So whenever there's people that tell me, well, I mean, the Beautiful Creatures Tarot is real pretty, but it doesn't call to me, I take it to a grain of salt. I don't take offense, you know? And I've known, and I mean, and this is just, you know, throwing it out there, I've seen, and many or the majority of tarot creators, when you tell them your tarot deck or your oracle deck didn't do much for me, they go ballistic and they start telling off that person like, how dare you, that's my artwork, that's life's worth. And I'm just there like, oh my God, like traumatized, like, wow, you know, rather than being humbled or at least being somewhat thankful or grateful that somebody is aware and knows of your tarot deck, knows of your project, that it is out there. So when I get good or bad reviews or mixed reviews, and I see, okay, there's like some bad, but there's some good as well, but there's like 10,000 reviews. So that to me is like, wow, you know, that just raises awareness for me that my tarot deck has reached people. I don't know if I'm explaining myself or,
oh no,
but
and it's a, you know, we often sit and think, you know, and we look at how beautiful decks are, how beautiful this is, you know, but from a humble standpoint, you know, there are billions of people on this planet, you know, and just like people, you can't please everybody. You're never going to, you know, people are going to find your deck because for them, they're connected to it. They find some kind of a connection. And if they don't, that's fine, because it's not for everybody. It's not everybody's cup of tea. You know, like I have the La Barajas. I can't read them. I don't have a connection. I love them. I own like 5 decks. I used to sell them in the Botanica that I worked at. But, you know, to look at them, for me, I have no connection. But they're still a beautiful deck. You know, I still look at them. I still, you know, suggest people to look into those because I find them to be, you know, a useful tool. You know, maybe not for everybody, but they are a useful tool that are going to appeal to a lot of different people. And if we take offense to things, you know, that's our own ego. That's our own, you know, self-image, you know, that gets in the way, rather than to say, hey, you know, I'm sorry. You know, it's not for everybody. You know, like my show. My show's not for everybody. Sometimes I tell it the way it is. Some people like that. Some people don't. And right. I'm okay with that. I'm not out for everybody in the world. I'm here to do what I love to do, which is share about divination, you know, lift people, show how, you know, one reader is different than another, show that there's a bigger variety, you know, that is available for everybody that's out there, and that they're not alone. There's multiple ways to learn, you know, and if they don't like me, that's fine. I'm not for everybody, and I'm okay with that.
You don't over it, so no. That's how I say. Like when I'm telling people, if people don't like my tarot decks or my writing, you know, that's up to them. That's to them. They're entitled to their opinion. I am not going to lose any sleep over it, you know? So basically, but of course, I do pay attention to constructive criticism, but it also depends how the constructive criticism is being expressed. I mean, there's some people that review a tarot deck or say things and it's very cutthroat. And then there's people who are not really used to that type of a criticism. And maybe that's why I understand that. Maybe that's why some tarot creators go off whenever somebody criticizes their work. Either because they're too hypersensitive or either because they, you know, the critic, the consumer, the owner of their work just said it in a very not so nice type of way. So whenever I read reviews about my tarot deck, just try to read between the lines to see where they're getting at, and that's fine, and that's learning for me. I can learn. I can say, okay, maybe for my next tarot deck or oracle deck, I won't add or include these things, but I can go ahead and add and include these new things. So that's how I take those reviews of my work. I just take them sort of like, you could say, advice, but at the same time, as a, to a grain of salt. And it's what I tell people. People ask me, what should I look forward to when I publish or so forth? I just tell them, either you go ahead and do a tarot deck, or for an audience, basically, as some would say, selling out, just basically something that could appeal to people, or you do something that comes from the heart. But when you do things that come from the heart, when you do things that come from within you, not everybody's going to be too keen about it, but at least you're doing something that you're expressing your artistic passion into a project. And also I tell them, you're not going to please anybody. Nobody, you're not your project. You're not a gold coin, so you can amuse or so you can please everybody. So you will have to go ahead and take some heat for the work that you put out there. Yeah. And that's basically my advice to them. And that's when I created the Beautiful Creatures Tarot. I said, I'm going to go ahead and create this tarot deck, and I'm going to see how it goes. If I see that it is a miss and not a hit, then it ends there. I'm not going to do more writing. I'll go ahead and dedicate to more hobbies or to something different. So I went ahead and put out the Beautiful Creatures Tarot, sent it to many publishers. It got rejected. Rejection is part of life. And then I went ahead and sent it to Schiffer. And they were, I think, the last publishers. No, actually, when I sent it to Schiffer, I was working for a proposal for U.S. Games. So by the time Schiffer called me, I just went ahead and discarded the proposal for U.S. Games, because I could have said, I don't want to go with Schiffer, but I want to go with U.S. Games. But what if U.S. Games would have turned me down and Schiffer wouldn't take me anymore? So it was like having to pick one over the other. So right. Schiffer took it. I'm sorry?
No, I was saying, right. Sometimes you strike when the iron's hot, and when you get an offer, it's like, okay, do I take it, or do I put it on the back burner and keep looking and risk losing?
Right, and that's what I didn't want to do, because I'm a new author. I'm barely starting out. I have no standing or anything in the tarot publishing community business. So Schiffer took it. I believe they loved it, because to my understanding, they said if the writing didn't go with the art, or the art doesn't go with the writing, we won't take it. So they took it because the writing went with the art. So that means something. So maybe my writing is good. Maybe my writing has, potential. So and I didn't expect anything. I didn't expect for it to grow, to be among so many people, to win all the awards and recognition it did. I was not expecting that. I just wanted to publish something just to see what other talents I may have. So the Beautiful Creature was published. It got reviews. It got awards. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is like unbelievable. And many people say that's very lucky of you, because not everybody who publishes a tarot deck the first time has that type of luck. Not everybody. There's some that takes many tarot decks or many books for them to achieve that type of recognition.
Well, hey, even as Annabelle in our chat room pointed out, J.K. Rowling, had numerous rejections before she signed with somebody. And look at where that ended up.
Oh, yes, indeed. I mean, and so I said, okay, so it became successful. It won some awards, which I totally was not aware. I guess the only award that I knew within the tarot was the Cover Award, COVR. Those are the only ones that I knew that were for tarot. And so at that point, I said, no, the Beautiful Creatures Tarot is never going to get nominated for a cover. It did, and it won. But okay, some things happen in mysterious ways. And so I said, okay, so the Beautiful Creatures Tarot was successful. So I guess I'm going to end up creating more tarot decks and be writing more books for tarot and oracle decks. And of course, the Beautiful Creatures Tarot was my first tarot deck. Many people start off with oracle decks. That's their first publication, but I wanted to start traditional with an actual tarot deck. So now I'm working on an oracle deck.
I was going to just ask you about that.
Yes, I'm working on an oracle deck with Sharon McLeod. She's based in Australia, and she is the illustrator of the Bohemian Animal Tarot. I hope I got the title right. They're going to kill me if I don't. Or the Animal Bohemian Tarot. It's a beautiful tarot deck. It's like 80 cards, I believe, and they're all illustrated from animals of all walks of life. But the creators, Scott King and Sharon, of course, they're based in Australia. So the animals have a more feel to the Australian animal kingdom. For
Right,
I
the
hope I'm saying it
Aboriginal
right.
style.
Correct. I mean, there's of course some American. There's the zebra. There's dogs, but of course you'll see a Giselle and you'll see a meerkat and so forth. So that's totally different. And the book, of course, is written wonderfully. It gives you like a background of the animal, and then of course a story, the divination meaning. It's a beautiful tarot deck. And so I said to Sharon, I told her I want to work with you, and I could tell she was very selective. I mean, of course, it's her art and her time that's being invested in it, and she's not going to want it to go to waste or in vain. So we actually met when the 2016 or 15 Carta Awards were up. Her and Scott were nominated, and so was I and Jasmine, and that's where we met. I sent her. I mean, I saw her, and I had her Oracle deck, and when it lost, I was like, "What the heck?" It's such a beautiful tarot deck, and the art's just very delicious. I tell her, "Your art is like cotton candy. It's like so easy on the eyes, and it's just very tasteful." So I messaged her and we messaged back and forth, and I told her I want to work on a card deck with you. And she said, "What is it?" "I'm thinking of a tarot." And she said, "Well, I mean, honestly, tarot is very exhausting. Writing 78 cards or drawing 78 cards is very exhausting." So she said that tarot, not at the moment, but she's willing to do an oracle deck. And I told her, "Okay, I have an oracle deck." And she said, what is your idea? What is the concept of theme?" And I told her, the oracle deck, I want to do it. I mean, us Spanish and Latin Americans, we have a tie, a connection. We're like brothers, basically. So I told her I want to do something that honors, commemorates the Latin American culture, the Latin American upbringings, especially the ones in Mexico, just to raise, because honestly, Latin America and their people and their culture are some cultures in the north, they often disregard them, or they see them as being dangerous, filthy, or so forth. There's like a whole different concept to it. And so I told her this oracle deck is going to be based on the Mexican culture. And over there in Australia, to my understanding, they have like a small museum or something that's dedicated to the Mexican artist Frida Kahlo. And Sharon, she's like an enormous diehard fan of Frida Kahlo. So when I told her, the minute that I said it's Mexican, that was 1 point. That was like 50 points. When I told her that it was going to be based and inspired by the time era, the art of Frida Kahlo and j-r-rivera, then that's when she said, "You know what? I'm sold. Let's do this oracle deck. Send me the description. Send me all you want. I'm down to work on this oracle deck." So
I think it's beautiful, being, from a Spanish background and having ties to the Spanish and the Latin communities, to, pull from your heritage and from lineages and from culture, to show the beautiful parts of, some of these, sometimes they're often misunderstood cultures. And,
yes.
Let's face it, history is not kind. History is also not always accurate, in the depictions from one culture to another. And people need to see, all the beauty that a lot of these cultures have. And following your roots, I think, is a very important thing, especially in divination. Your roots are what make you who you are, your blood, your lineage. When you're working with any system, you start with your base, regardless of whether you're reading tarot or Lenormands, your spirits, your guides are part of your culture. You may adapt and you may borrow from others. You may follow others. You may be very closely related or even initiated into other cultures, but your base, your own culture itself is very important, and they're all beautiful, and they all need to be shown. So I'm glad to actually see that you are pulling that in, and bringing new vibrance, to an older era.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I can't wait to actually see it. Now, I hear you just signed on with another publisher.
Yes, they are, and it's an independent publisher. It's called Animal Dream.